Welcome back to the Star Wars Newsnet Timeline Show, episode 23. We're here in the year 232 BBY. My name is Tyler, joined always by the lore master himself, Mr. Luke Sheehan. Luke, we're still in 232 BBY, cranking it out here in the High Republic timeline. Honestly, I feel like I'm in a sweet spot with these episodes. We're kind of feeling good. We're approaching the latter portion of the episodes. So the season is slowly dwindling, and we're going to be able to start moving into some books and comics and re-exploring the written word in Star Wars. But how are you feeling with all of this? Are you looking forward to the home stretch? Are you ready to be done with Young Jedi Adventures and start the next journey? What is your overall vibe right now?
It is pretty interesting. Because we've been here for so long. We've done quite a few episodes on Young Jedi Adventures. We've done more than we have in front of us. So we're over halfway through the first season. It's been fun. I think very respectfully, I am looking forward to covering some other content. This has been really fun, and I don't know if it's just me because I'm doing this show, but when I watch these episodes and review them to get ready for this, I do kind of like feel that in me that I'm like, this season feels like it's like getting a little bit more serious. It's really like building up to our final episode 25 of the season. So
there were so many Easter eggs in these little episodes for High Republic book fans, or even just Star Wars fans in general, for all of the parents maybe watching with their younglings and things like that. So let's go ahead and get into it. Episode 15 was called An Adventure with Yoda, and the synopsis here was that our trio go on an adventure with Yoda to help Nash's friend Zephyr, who is being attacked by pirates, and we're going to talk about those pirates here in a moment. And the lessons throughout this episode is that when things are tough, Luke, stay calm and breathe. Focus on the challenge and do it, as Master Yoda says multiple times throughout this one. This is shown with Nash being able to navigate an asteroid field to chase down the pirates. Now, a beautiful message being told, but we have to talk about these pirates specifically. Luke, this is the first look at the Nile in like any sort of TV like format. How did we feel about that?
So I had watched this when it like originally came out. Like I'd watched this quite a while ago. I was rewatching this to get ready for this podcast episode, and it got to that point where we see Nile insignia on the side of this ship,
Right.
And I saw that and it went off the screen, and I went, "Pause, hold on, I don't remember that." I was like, I kind of freaked out a bit. I was like, "Whoa, this is very serious to me." Okay, I know this is just a children's show, but I rewound it back. I paused it on the ship. Yeah, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the Eye of the Storm." That's like, this is not, because we've had plenty of pirates in this show that have just kind of been their own entity. They're just
regular pirates,
They're just simply pirates. These were Nile. I mean,
they are the pirates.
The implications are huge here. I mean, that's the warring faction against the Jedi.
Well, even on the ship, but before we even see the ship, like on their jackets, they have like there's a little eye insignia on like the chest, like on the right side, I think, of their jackets. There's like the eye there. So I saw that first, and then when the ship has the insignia on it, then it's basically like screaming at you that these are the Nile, of course, without the gas masks and the usual butchering of everyone there. But this is the Young Jedi Adventures version of the Nile. But at the same time, as someone who's read pretty much every single piece of High Republic content except for some of the comics, pretty excited to see some Nile in Young Jedi Adventures. They're the version of the Nile. It was just fun to see. It was like the DiCaprio meme. I was like, yeah, oh no, it's pointing. Like, oh goodness gracious. But no, that was fun. What species is Zephyr? The guy that they're trying to save?
He's a Mon Calamari.
Okay, that's right, that's right.
So
He's the monk. He's a monk.
just like
Okay, that's right.
Akbar.
I'm remembering. Yes, I know that. But just I couldn't remember right now. I forgot to write it down. I just couldn't remember what he looked like for a second.
Oh
So a
yeah.
few things from this one. Let's get to the notes, shall we? So we have the younglings doing a speeder bike route with Yoda. What would be your thoughts if you were doing a speeder bike chase through the water with Master Yoda?
Ooh, so I was a kid who grew up on my bike. I was always trying to push that thing as fast as it could go. I would be having the time of my life if I was with the most revered person in my, organization. And here I am getting to just hang out and like push the pedal to the metal with this guy. Oh, I'd be having a blast on Tenu. This
Well,
would
it's
be a
funny they
good
have like
time.
this big obstacle, and Yoda goes through. He's like, "We're gonna go through this, shall we?" And then they're all having a hard time doing it. They get through it, and Yoda's just like literally off the bike, standing there waiting for them with this look of, "Yeah, you little punk kids. You thought you could keep up with Master Yoda." So the kids are, super excited about going with Yoda on this mission. That they kind of forgot that Nash's friend Zephyr is being attacked and by pirates, and so they're like super giddy, and Nash and Yoda are looking at them like, guys, we're literally like about to go help people, and you're super excited. Granted, it's Yoda we're going on the mission with. So are we able to cut them a little slack for this, just for being excited children to hang out with, as you said, perhaps the most revered Jedi Master in the organization?
I'm gonna cut them some slack, okay?
Okay, okay.
I and their kids, they probably don't even understand mortal danger yet. So it's fine.
Can
But
we talk
looks
again
bad.
about Yoda being like a freaking like poser and all this stuff, because this man's limping around for 900 years on his little walking stick. He's like 700 years old right now, and he's limping around his little walking stick. And then guess what happens? As soon as they get to the pirates, he literally just starts running. He just takes off running. The stick goes away and he starts running. Now,
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that he suddenly is able to channel the force in these situations to do things beyond just limping around. So my question for you, Luke, is how long has Yoda been on his walking stick for sympathy?
Gosh. Gosh. It's gonna be an embarrassingly long time. I'm gonna say even 200 years before this. Probably I mean, it's in phase 2 that he probably is still, like, the same. So, like, this man has been limping on a cane for probably 500 years.
He's Grogu. When he was
For
Grogu's
real.
age, he brought out the cane. Like, let's be real. He brought out the cane when he was Grogu's age. But godly, he sees a droid or a Sith Lord, and suddenly
Suddenly,
he just
he's
goes into like you know, high on drugs, jumping off walls with his spinning lightsaber, ready to, take everyone out, just like he did here when the droids show up and he's literally doing his flips. And the cool one was where he stops the blaster bolts in air and then
Ooh.
shoots them back at the droid and then throws his saber and slices through the last three. Classic Yoda.
He he had a really cool fight scene in this episode. I mean, he looked really good. So
Really good.
I just wish he might look like that all the time. I think that'd be cool. But
It was
sure, look
Nash.
unassuming, I guess.
It was Nash who was like, I see why they were excited to have Mr. Yoda here. And
She
Zephyr's
gets
like,
it.
man, that green guy is pretty good.
I feel
Typically.
like I feel like that's even what Yoda's going for. I think is this whole thing
Mhm.
is like, oh, I need my cane. Psych. Oh, call an ambulance, but not for me.
Not for me. Whips out the lightsaber. So when they were flying through the asteroid to go after the pirates, the asteroid belt, because pirates took to the air, they tried to steal some Jedi vectors in their ship, and Nash is going after the pirates, and we had the Empire Strikes Back asteroid belt music that came and swooped in, and then Yoda's like, "Stay calm, breathe, like you could do it, Nash." And there was this epic moment where Nash is going through the asteroid belts, and if you rewatch Empire Strikes Back asteroid scene and then rewatch this one, some of the ways that they did the asteroids colliding and then some of the ships swooping through were like the kind of very similar, like the exact same. Like there's one where the Falcon goes through and the asteroids crash behind where the tie ends up going. But in this one, it was like it crashed behind and it played like the same music as that same scene when the Falcon like flies through. It was pretty cool. And then no, I'm all about Empire Strikes
That's
Back.
awesome. Oh yeah.
And then the scene though where Yoda we get Yoda's theme, I believe, for the first time in the Young Jedi Adventures, and he in space opens the bay doors of the Nile ship, and then simultaneously pulls lets the vectors get sucked out and pulls the vectors out and holds them in place for them to get. Just a massive Yoda moment, Luke.
A massive one, and it might be a stretch, but it could be a callback to Dagobah when he's lifting up the ship out of the swamp, lifting up Luke's ship. I think it's
It's not a
another,
stretch at all. I mean, they play his theme.
yeah,
They kind of do the whole. He's doing the whole thing.
for centuries he's been impressing younglings by lifting ships specifically. It's actually quite a feat.
He
He
only
keeps
lifts
repeating the
ships.
same thing.
He only lifts ships. Is there anything he lifts other than ships, like ever outside of because I guess you could say that technically when he's in the the Senate courtroom, he's throwing the things, but those are hovering vehicles in a sense. So I'm still counting them as ships. I guess the pillar that drops on Obi-Wan
That's what I was going to say.
and
Attack of the
and
Clones
Anakin,
pillar.
but that's only so Dooku can escape on a ship. So in theory, Dooku knew that Yoda only likes, controlling ships. So he had to, present something to try to persuade him away from, getting high on his own supply.
Also on this scene, these two civilians, I call them civilians because they're not force users. These two Nile, they seemingly like pilot the vectors and like just fly off with them. And that's interesting because I feel like usually only Jedi can even actually pilot them. They
So
shouldn't be that
other
easily
people can
pilotable.
pilot them. Remember in the beginning
Correct.
they had problems piloting them, like they couldn't figure out how to turn them on and things like that. And
Yeah.
so I think like it wasn't like they were able to pilot; they were just trying to get him into their ship. So
Okay.
I looked at it as like they had problems, but they weren't able to fly them effectively, and they got out because like a
True.
Jedi is only be
They
able to
weren't zipping
fly.
around in those things.
It's like in one of the High Republic comics, like Lorna D tries to pilot a vector, and she's like, "What is going on?" And she's not able
Yeah.
to. Oh my gosh, I need to read High Republic 10 still. Have you read High Republic 10?
I have indeed.
Was it good?
It's pretty good. It's not going to blow
Okay,
your
so
socks
it's
off,
not
but
great. Like if
you
we're
know me
talking
too
about
well.
we're talking about the last comic for an entire arc. Like that's the last one until the thing they're doing in December, which they already announced, and the cover, so we know everyone's alive. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so but if you're telling me the last comic of an arc is, you had to hesitate before you told me it's pretty good from someone who's an eternal comic optimist like you. I know it's not going to be great, which is fine. I will read it and enjoy it for what it is, and hopefully, I am pleasantly surprised.
I do hope so.
So this episode ends with Yoda making the kids clean up with a bunch of brooms that he force grabs. Moving on to part 2, the trio. It's called the Talon. What's this one called?
The
The
Talon
Talon Takeover. Yes,
takeover.
Talon Takeover. The trio helps EB3 and Pord. Tabor's back. Those are his little friends, and helps. They are going to rescue their friend Tabor with the help of our trio because Tabor's been kidnapped by the pirates group known as the Gangles, which we have met before in this show. And Tabor learns a valuable lesson about appreciating his friends because that's something that Tabor does not do. Granted, we're going to find out here in a few minutes that he doesn't really learn that lesson very well, so I'm not really sure how hard hitting this one was. But Luke, it's always good to see Tabor back on our screens. The little rugrat seems to be getting himself into some trouble here.
Absolutely. He's a perfect foil for our young Jedi. It's always nice when the age gap is small and it's just kids versus kids. Sometimes it's kind of funny to see like grown adults be the enemies of the children.
Right.
Like yeah, it's just kind of funny. So I always like a Tabor episode. And yeah, he actually gets it's kind of a funny setup because it's really the Tabor's gang versus the Gangles. So the young Jedi are really kind of third party people to this interaction. They're not even like facing either one of them
And
head
you
on.
know, and EB3 and Pord realize very quickly that no one is willing to help people that steal from them. They literally only had the Jedi to turn to, and thankfully our trio are just super nice, welcoming, generous younglings ready to travel across the sector to help Tabor get away from the Gangles. So the group is going to basically come up with a plan. And the plan was born from EB3 and Port, who have some serious self confidence issues because Tabor's so
True.
often telling them their plans are terrible. But however, we see here that Kai and Liss and Nubs support the plan from Tabor's minions and gives them kind of the confidence boost they need to take some initiative on this mission.
Which I don't know. I really love seeing kind of specifically that coming of age trope. Like I love seeing the confidence get built there because you need that in life. Like if you go around and you're not confident in yourself at all, you're not going to get very far. Things going to be very hard
How
for you.
how long do Gamorreans live?
It's a
Do
good
you know
question.
that?
I don't
Is it
know
possible that
that.
Horde is a Gamorrean guard for Jabba? Like, or is he one of Boba's two Gamorrean guards that sacrificed themselves in the fight
Ooh,
against the Pikes? Could that be the ultimate Horde arc?
that would kind of stink because I want Ford seems to really take to some growth arc here. Um, seems like not a really a bad person, just him with a bad group. So it'd kind of stink if Pord ends up just a dumb enforcer for Jabba, who ultimately
Hey,
gets force choked.
or could it be that? Oh my gosh! Remember that moron that we were in line waiting at Galaxy's Edge who told us that um
Oh
every
my
single
goodness.
person who's ever used like force choke or something is like a dark side user or a Sith. And we literally see Luke Skywalker do this in Return of the Jedi. And when we told that to him, he tried to tell us that it wasn't like a force choke and or something like that. He's like, no. He was just like trying to put him to sleep. And I'm like, yeah, by choking them.
Yeah, that conversation was actually going pretty well because the Mandalorian had it was pretty new. We were talking about Grogu, who didn't
That's
even
when
have
he tried
his
to
name
tell
at
us
the time.
Grogu was like gonna be this big dark side force user.
Yeah, he was
And I'm
telling us
like, the Mandalorian's gonna get really interesting because Mando's gonna find out his son is a Sith Lord soon, and I'm like, what the are you smoking right now? Do you think that Disney's gonna turn Grogu into some dark like Sith like dark side user? Like,
I remember
stop.
like we were having a good time talking to him about Star Wars, and he
Yeah.
like goes on this rant. We were like, "Okay, have a good day, man." Like,
We were like talking about just some like fun favorite Star Wars memories, and then we said, "Oh, what do you think of the Mandalorian so far?" And then he just decided to like
just went off
take
the
off the
rails.
he put on the tinfoil hat and just went straight into his conspiracy theory mode. And which I don't know what dark corner of the web he was watching on YouTube, but he literally just said, "Yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting time when Mando discovers the Grogu is the dark side Force user and probably is gonna kill like Mando in the end." I'm like, What are you talking?" It
This is
was
like season 1 of Mando.
like
Like,
episode 7. It's like the finale was next week, and he's like predicting that Grogu's gonna kill everybody using the dark side just because he force choked Cara Dune for a minute, and then we were like, well, what about Luke? He's like, no, like you don't understand. I've been watching Star Wars since I was 6 years old. Like you got to get off here. And we said, all right, this conversation, has been. It's like it was sorry, sir, we have to leave. Something like that, or
and so
or
it
when like
is.
when Baylor
Baylor
got
Gunner,
in episode 3, he's like,
it's time for you to leave. And
and
so it
so it
is.
is.
It's
That's what that
really how
moment
it
was.
went.
Instead, like it was just us sharing a look of it's time for us to leave, and so it was. Oh my
Oh,
goodness! All that to say that I don't know where we started there, but what I was gonna say was that the three younglings reminded me whenever they steal stuff from the Gangles, and then they just run off. And there's a scene of just some of the adult Gangles chasing the kids around. They're like doing flips all over the place, and Liz is doing her best like version of the Matrix, where she's just flipping around, doing whatever. It literally reminded me of like kids like just being full of energy at recess or something, or at the house, and like parents trying to like, no, come back, like give that here, like no, stop, put this down. Like reminded me of like adults, like a kid's birthday party or something.
It actually, not to go too long on this, but like it reminds me of like the Kenobi show when Leia is running away from the pirates, and she like does kind of a successful job at getting away from them, and people are like, "Oh, this sucks. Like this is stupid." And a lot of parents were commenting like, "Do you have a 10-year-old? Like do you have a child? Because like it's hard to catch those kids when they want to get away from you. Like it's not that wild. Like they can do that."
It's like it's okay to be goofy sometimes. Now I thought that was like a little much, and the goof side, it was a little much, like
Right.
the whole like like and then she like, she just takes off, and he's like, oh,
Yeah.
and he's like not even there. I thought that was a little much,
A bit.
but we stand Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course. So Tabor ultimately calls EB3 and Port his friends for like the first time. They help him escape, and they drive the Gangles away. Solid episode. He even says thank you at the end, which I thought was a nice little touch for Tabor to say those two words
Exactly.
in a
This.
condescending or
Yeah.
evil sort of way. Like, thank
Facetious,
you,
sarcastic.
Jedi. You've saved my shipment of illegal kyber crystals.
He does. The voice actor there is doing a fantastic job. Um, and also, this is like the second time we've seen some major growth opportunity for Tabor, because we had the episode with the logs. He decides to help Kai. We have
Mhm,
this one now where he can't do this on his own. He needs help from his friends, and his friends actually help him out. He's really is realizing this stuff, that like his way of life that he's currently living is not the best. So I like that
mhm.
we're kind of chipping away at the tough guy facade that he's clearly putting on.
Well, and then he throws all of those lessons in the toilet in episode 16, Mystery of the Opal Cave, where the trio helps some miners from Utu Prime overcome their fears about a strange legend, or a fearsome legend, to save their minerals from Tabor and his gang. And in Tabor's first scene, EB3 talks about how there was a great plan and it was his plan. Tabor takes credit for the plan and basically tells EB3 to shut up. So we see Tabor taking advantage of the innocent and also putting his friends back in their place. So, Luke, what happened between episodes 15 and 16 for Tabor just to forget all of the lessons that we thought he had learned?
This speaks to the strength of the young Jedi. If they were all six of them, a friend group, would be great. But this bad friend group leader is just not gonna take to the lesson yet, and
No,
he needs more guidance, needs more lessons, really. So I'm glad there's more
we
episodes
gotta
where
get
he's
more.
gonna get them.
Definitely. Utu Prime is the planet in question here that we are on. Luke, are there any other references of Utu Prime in canon? Have we ever explored this planet before, or was this a brand new planet for Young Jedi Adventures?
As far as I know, Young Jedi Adventures gets the mark here for creating this planet. I've read a lot of books and stuff and seen my fair share. I feel like it's not come up ever, so I think the creators of Young Jedi Adventures have created this planet for us, which was a really cool, really colorful, sparkly gem of a planet.
Ooh, what a pun there. So, yes, I believe this is the first time for Utu Prime. So, thank you to Young Jedi Adventures for yet another new planet that we could venture off to in the future. Ava is giving the young trio a tour of the mines and shows them a kukarog, a beautiful purple mineral, but it is second to the Utuan opals, the most beautiful of all. So they're like sacred minerals. These are like the big ones that sell for the most because they're the most beautiful. They shine, they sparkle, they glimmer in the air. And thanks to the old legend of the mine monster, the shadow monster, they are scared to go into the tunnel where these minerals are mined. Now we know that Tabor is using a machine, a fog machine, and this random assortment of parts to make it look like there is a monster. But Luke, I have to say, if I heard about green fog and a giant monster out to eat me, I might run away too. I might not be brave enough to face that fear.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be going in there either. Green fog sounds like some Night Sister magic, and I'm staying far away from that. This sounds very bad. Like I understand the Utuan thought process here. I'm with you. Stand in solidarity. We're staying away from this mine cave.
Have you seen Ice Age?
Yes, absolutely.
So you're familiar with Sid the Sloth.
Said the sloth.
These Utuan
Ooh, that okay.
prime people look kind of like sloths, like
Pretty
Sid the Sloth,
similar.
almost like a Star Wars version of a sloth. They're miners. I don't know. I just got serious Sid the Sloth vibes from Ava and these miners. Like they're just moving a little bit slow. They're a little slow on the uptake. Like we gotta give it to them. We gotta spoon feed them a little bit to get them, over their fear. We gotta really, have them conquer this. But they do show some moments of bravery to come through in the end. So I did appreciate that. We also got another epic Kai and Tabor showdown.
Oh yeah, we got another one of those. Honestly, I was gonna say on the Utuans, we just need one with like a lisp, and then we got Sidislach because like the
That's fair.
lisp is all that's missing. But yeah, we got yet another good showdown with
Mhm.
Tabor's like electro spike pike
Yeah.
that can apparently just deflect lightsabers like at any point along it. Doesn't need to be the charged end of it. So I thought that
Well,
was
they have training
a
sabers,
little
so
interesting.
they can't
That is also
training
true.
sabers can't necessarily cut through everything.
I did not. I remember that watching the episode because I had 1 second where I was like, "Shouldn't that be cutting?" No, these are training sabers. It's fine. It's fine. It's not that serious, Luke. It's not
And
that
then
serious.
Tabor clearly has been practicing because he kind of gets the better of Kai just a little bit. They kind of go back and forth, but
Ooh,
really it's
yeah.
Liss who has some Legolas like moves on EB and Poor, just jumping over rocks, flipping over, using their own weapons against them. Like, honestly, just a quality showdown. But ultimately, the lesson that was learned here throughout all of this was that no one should let fear hold them back, which the miners learn in the end as they go through the mine to help save the group after a cave in almost, takes them all out.
I do love the ending where, for Tabor and his friends, they've fabricated this myth and they're trying to play on that fear.
Mhm.
They are then scared off by the same thing that they were trying to emulate.
Yep.
These Utuan miners come along and they're putting these shadows on the walls, and it's kind of an interesting. I thought it was pretty creative for a kid show to flip it back on the enemies and have them hightail it and run. So I loved it. If you're being a bad person, get out of here.
So part two is called Clash, and this is my favorite one of the group of four, even more than the
Ooh,
Yoda one. And this one we kind of see Kai meet
ooh, yeah, this is a good one.
Jovi, and I believe now I don't want to be completely wrong here, but I'm pretty sure Jovi is our first like non-binary character in Young Jedi Adventures, going by they them, and we have Jovi is another youngling that trains with Kai, and the two of them get into the sparring match and learn how to work together despite the rivalry that happens throughout this, as they have to work together on this mission to get a unlit beacon stone back to Master Zia. And the lesson here is that you have to work together, in order to accomplish things. That just putting yourself like trying to make yourself first all the time isn't exactly what is better.
Yeah, and that's a really good lesson. It goes all the way through adulthood. There's people who live their whole lives not grasping this one. Teamwork is working better when you're not trying to like be the leader sometimes.
They
So
they had
yeah,
like an epic lightsaber clash at the beginning when they were
they really
sparring
did.
together, and I'm gonna be honest. I even let out a little ooh for Young Jedi Adventures moment was when they're fighting and it looks like Kai's gonna get beat there, and then he does the behind like overhead like
Oh
block,
yeah.
and he's like, and he like smiles when he does it because he's like, I got you. But then he comes around and Jovi, they just knock the saber out of his hand, and Kai loses, and it was this moment of, oh my gosh, wow! Like the younglings were in all of this display of form prowess from their peers.
Yeah, it kind of harkened me back to Inside Out too. Like Kai is really building up his personality on his saber skills, and so that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
Inside Out 2 is like I am a hockey player first and foremost.
Yep.
So I was like, yeah, it's gonna hurt hard. You're gonna fall hard when the thing you've built your personality on is now not carrying you through a situation. Like it's not good
Mm-hmm.
enough. There's someone's better than you at it. So like
They
that's a
talk
tough
about being
lesson.
the best and having to be the best, like through everything. Like that's what Kai and Jovi both talk about throughout
Exactly.
this, and this need to be best. This is where I learned that Jovi actually I would really get along with Jovi. Not only does Jovi talk about how I thought there was two things that Jovi said in this episode that really made me connect with them. One, they said that, yeah, I tend to bring out the competitive side of people, and I was like, that's my Padawan right there. That's one of my Padawan. Like it, I would go with Jovi or Kai, whichever one of them steps up to the plate, like one of those two. And second, we got an Avar Chris name drop in this episode
Oh,
when Kai and Jovi are debating which Jedi Master has the most mastery of the Force. Kai goes, it's obviously Master Yoda. And Jovi says how he thinks it's Master Chris. She can make her lightsaber levitate in the air and spin. And that's like a direct call to probably stories they've heard from Hetzel, which is part of the Great Disaster, which takes place in The Light of the Jedi, which is the first novel in Phase 1, which we will be talking about in about in a few weeks. So just Jovi, some good name drops, some good references. They are one of my favorite younglings we've met so far.
yeah, they are very cool. They've got a yellow lightsaber too, so I mean that's a pretty rare thing in and of itself. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just cool to see that on screen too. And also, ooh, it won me over for Jovi to be like, I actually think really highly of Master Chris, and like gives this specific reference to Light of the Jedi, which I don't think has happened yet in a timeline,
Mm.
but clearly like Avar is known for this spinning of the saber she does. So I'm like,
Right.
oh, this is so it doesn't you don't have to have read the book to
I feel like
understand
it's
this, but
happened at this point.
really?
Like they showed the Nile in the episode.
Oh, that's
So
fair.
like I guess they're around. And
That's
then,
fair.
season 1, spoiler alert, season 1 is the, induction of Starlight Beacon, which takes place at the end of Light of the Jedi, and we're getting
Yeah.
close to the finale. And so obviously these episodes aren't like taking place over a specific amount of time, but we're getting closer to
Yeah.
the end, and that's when that happens. So it's like reasonable to assume that it's possible that that's happened. And
Completely possible.
Avar is at this time so heightened from what she's done that stories of her are reaching these temples with the younglings, and they're
I think
even
that
more
makes
enamored with her.
more sense that Light of the Jedi the beginning of the book has already happened. I think
Mhm.
actually that's a good point. I didn't even put that together, but that totally tracks.
I also think that there is significant evidence in this, episode to show that Liz would yet again be a perfect Padawan for you.
Really, I would love for you to tell me this.
Because she said something that if I was Kai, my blood would be absolutely boiling. But I know that you would probably be someone that would say something like this under certain circumstances and would appreciate your Padawan telling you this. And it was when Kai was so upset he lost the saber duel with Jovi. And Liz says, you didn't lose, Kai. Master Zia said it wasn't the competition at all. You shouldn't be sad. You should be proud. And I'm sitting there going, if I'm Kai, I'm like pissed off. Like, shut up, Liz. I lost. My lightsaber went flying out of my hands. But I could literally see, you being like that. Like, we just, you know what? Like, we were just playing. Like, we had a good time. Like, it didn't, they may have had more points than us in this one, but not that you're not, I know you're competitive, but I also know that you would probably take the rational point of view here. Well, if we've played plenty of like pickup basketball
Oh yeah.
or frisbee, whatever, over the years, and I know that you get upset, sometimes we lose, but there's a difference between like your level of like upset and like how I am like raging at the world when we're losing or something. I was the guy that in our semifinals or our playoffs of intramurals, I'm screaming, timeout because I want to get our timeout in, and then we didn't get the timeout, and I'm like, come on, like what are you talking about?
Yeah, I think it's just this whole show has been a pretty accurate description or depiction of you and I. I'm Liz and you are Kai more times than not. And
That's why we make a great team.
honestly, yeah, and I think, I'm also very competitive. I'm
Yes, you
stoked
are.
to compete in a 5K this Saturday. But I would also be like, I can tell my friend Tyler is going through it. I'm gonna maybe try to sprinkle in something to help him, and it's actually something that boils your blood, actually. But
This is
my
this is
intentions are
like
not to do that.
well, I mean, this is like a perfect example. Like I get up at a lot of Tuesdays or and Thursdays, like I'll get up to play basketball starting at like 6 a.m. We start right at 6 a.m. And like I'm like legitimately pissed off at people if they are not busting their ass playing
Oh,
defense at 6 a.m. And I
yes.
remember I have texted you at like 6:30 in the morning
Yes.
before, like, this dude is like not cutting it. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, why? Like,
In
again, though,
pickup
like, why would
basketball.
anyone get up that early to not try like
No,
that
I'm
hard?
so with you on that. I
But like,
feel
why?
very
Why
strongly
would
about
why
that.
would anyone get up that early to not at least be competitive and like want to win? Like, I get the joy of camaraderie with other people playing basketball, but can't you get that outside of 6 a.m.? Like, like if you're just trying to like, no, I'm here to go at you. Like, I'm here to have like fun, yes, but fun for me is like doing that. Like Janelle one time, I told her, I was like, no, I was so pissed off we lost this game, and this guy wasn't doing anything, and I was like, I'm gonna take it to him the next game. She just goes, I'm so sorry. Like I hope it goes better next time. And I'm like, no, that was fantastic. I had a blast. Like I'm so joyful to be pissed off right now.
See,
Like that's Kai right here in this episode.
that's
Like
yeah, so I've played some competitive Battlefront 2 as well. That's been my most
that's
recent
true.
thing, and so, like, I'll turn the console off, and I'll be raging. I'll be like, "I can't believe this happened," and Em will be like, "Well, you should probably take a break, like, don't play that for the next couple days," and I'm like, "That was like, I loved that." But I'm, like, so mad right now, but, like, it's a good thing that I'm
So mad.
mad.
I got to
I
do
don't
it again.
yeah.
Like I'm so mad, but
Like
I'm like I also need like you need that edge sometimes. Like I get that
oh,
competitiveness out.
yes.
Like
Oh,
oh,
yes.
I feel better afterwards. Oh no,
And I think this is how Kai and Jovi feel. If we want to wrap it back to this, this is how they feel.
no,
Kai is
they
mad that
feed
he
off of
lost.
that.
Yeah, exactly. I get them. I get it.
Yes. Like that competitive fire, matches each other.
It
It's
drives you.
I it just that's how it works. Like I get like I have a friend I used to work out with, and we would do like pull-ups or these core workouts to end. And like it would be like, all right, we'll do like, a set of 15 or a set of 20 or something. And then it's like who's gonna drop first, kind of thing. Who's gonna like stop throwing it first? Because we used to do this like core exercise where we go back and then like launch the ball, the
Okay.
other person would catch it, crunch, launch, and like we're just launching missiles at each other, hoping that we take the other person's head off. And it's like who's gonna show signs of weakness first. And like Kai and Jovi though, like they get bonded through this
That's
competitive
them.
fire. So to bring it back full circle in Star Wars, there we go. 38 minutes 53 seconds. We're recording this on a Wednesday night. It's 9:35 Eastern time. At the end of this one, Luke, we wrapped up another 2 episodes of Young Jedi Adventures. We're looking forward to next week. This will drop on Saturday, of course. We have the Star Wars Newsnet live show we're doing tomorrow, but obviously, this is the time of this dropping. That will have already been released. So go back, listen to that, everybody, because let me tell you, we
We're
haven't recorded it
cooking.
yet as of this time, but I am ready to rage on this show. Like I am fired up. We're going to be talking about, acolyte cancellation, whatever you want to call it out there. And I have so many thoughts and reactions to this. And I cannot wait to get into that because I think, like, I was, as someone who had mixed feelings about the Acolyte, but just the way the conversation went on it is just so frustrating and distasteful that I can't wait to talk about it. We have Mando and Grogu stuff to talk about tomorrow. We have Boba Fett stuff to talk about. So you're listening to this on Saturday, hop back over, listen. The
Please
audio
do.
has dropped. The video will be on YouTube. Check us out, Apple and Spotify at Star Wars Newsnet. Leave us that 5-star review, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel here at Star Wars Newsnet. Check out the website for all of your news, updates, everything. We have Star Wars Outlaws coming out here very soon. Our very own Jay is playing that game right now. Like, as we speak, he is playing this game, ready to go. So I'm assuming, I guess he's playing I know he's got the review copy. I know
Ooh,
I'm
okay.
assuming he's
That's awesome.
playing it right now. So we have new books coming out. It's like all good stuff. Luke, I look forward to chatting with you tomorrow night for the live show. It's going to be a good time.
That's gonna be a good time.
Everyone, for Light and Life, remember, we are all the Republic.